I'm Basek, and I'm here at NAMM 2017, Malekko Heavy Industry, Craft Music. We're going to show a couple modules that we released recently. The Varigate 8 is a 8-gate sequencer, 2 channels of CV. The voltage block is basically 8 sequencers with 16 channels. It gets pretty intense, so if you have this combo, you have 8 gates and 10 CVs. So we're going to start out with looking at the Varigate. So the Varigate is a probability sequencer, and I gotta clear a couple things really quick so we can start fresh. Right now I'm selecting channel 2, which I have connected to our friend's hex inverter mutant bass drum. So I'm going to press play, and I'm going to use the sliders to add a kick drum sequence. So the way the Varigate 8 works, it's a probability sequencer. So the slider you can see on the graph, there's a chance if I have it all the way to the right, it's 100% probability that that gate is going to trigger. If I put it to the middle, there's going to be a 50% probability that that gate is going to trigger. So we're throwing a little kick drum sequence. You could do up to 16 repeats per step. So I'm gonna put 16 repeats on this step right here so you could hear it do a quick blip. So I'm gonna add some low probabilities with repeats to those ones that are low probability. What I like about probability sequencers is that you could use a 16-step sequence, and then with low probabilities on repeats and other things, it'll feel like the pattern is constantly switching up. So now I'm going to go to gate 3, and I'm going to add some snare drums on the 5 and the 13. And then we can get some snare rolls. We'll put the same thing, low probability with some repeats. I had this mode added, the Basek mode, which if you hold down probability till it blinks, this is a more advanced mode that I could live plate the gates. I'm sorry. So I added this mode so when I'm playing live, if I have like a melodic sequence going, I could delete all my drums and then I could live play the gates and it'll quantize it to the steps. So let's do that now. And when you live play it, those gates that you hit are going to be 100% probability. And then you can go back in and start putting the low probabilities with the random. And each channel could run at its own sequencing length, so you could create polyrhythms. You could have channel 1 being on only 3 steps, channel 2 at 16 steps, channel 3 at 6 steps. And every single channel could run at their own clock speed. At different divisions of the clock, up to 16 different divisions of the clock. There's a bunch of cool things that you could do for live playing. There's a mute function, so when I press mute, it'll show if the LED is lit, that channel's active. There's 10 different banks. If you hold down bank, it'll show that I'm in bank 1 right now. And then if you wanted to save that, you could save that to pattern 1. So in each bank, you could save 10 patterns. And there's also a song mode. You could hold down song, and the bottom 10 push button LEDs will act as patterns, and you could click, say I want pattern 1 to go 4 times, pattern 2 to do 2 times, and you could just kind of go along how you want it to go. So right now we're gonna get it out of the live mode, and we're gonna clear this whole thing. And we have gate 8 go into an envelope that's opening up an oscillator. So I'll show you how the melodic side works. So we'll throw some gates in there. Let's see if that's audible. There we go, start getting a little sequence going. Now that we have a little gate sequence going, we're gonna go to the CV channel and we're gonna send that oscillator some pitch. So there's different scales that you can choose from. And then now every single slider is gonna act as up to 5 octaves of pitch per step. So we'll start just randomly going in and doing a pitch sequence. You could do glide per step, and with the same thing with the CV, you could do different divisions, up to 16 divisions of the clock. You could do from 1 step to 16 steps, and you could also link the channels together, where every time you can link CV1 to advanced steps to any single gate. So you do that by pressing track and then go to sequence mode. So I'll lock it to advance a step every time gate 8 hits. So you can see every time there's a gate, it advances a step. Let's try a different mode where we'll put CV1 on random. So you could go forward, reverse, pendulum, and random. And you could do that per any track. So you can see now by the LEDs that it's just gonna jump around randomly. When you're using the gate channels, you could set pulse width per step. So if you have that opening up like a filter or VCA, you can get some really cool variations. There's random in the sequencer. There's a gate delay, so you could do like swing type of effects. It's pretty in-depth module. I have at home these 2 modules just basically sequencing about maybe like 8 rows of Eurorack, so it gets pretty intense. Now we'll move on to the voltage block. The voltage block pairs well with the Varigate 8, or it also works on its own. So let's see what we have connected to it right now. I'm gonna mute the channels that we were previously showing. Right now we have the voltage block hooked up to one of my favorite percussion modules, which is our friends at Noise Engineering, Basek Iteratas Alter. So you could look at this as 8 sequencers, all with 16 steps, and it gets pretty in depth. So right now we're at the first step and all CV outputs are active. So since all these outputs are going to the Basek, all 8, it's like I can move the sliders, and it's similar to just fine-tuning the Basek to any sound that I want, locked per that step. So the first one I have connected to pitch, and then other parameters of the Basek that you could just hear the modulation happening live. Now I'm on step 2. And you could just go down each of the 16 steps and tune it however you like. So this is kind of a random quick sequence, and we're just gonna hit it with the Varigate doing the gates, and then the voltage block sending CV to the Basek and see what we come up with. So I have to go back to gate 1. We'll set some notes in there, or some gates in there. Well, that's pretty random. As the sequencer is playing, you could live record the steps of each sequencer. So since this is connected to pitch on the first one, it's kind of chaotic right now because it's just set up in a very random way. But if I was to take about 10 minutes to do this, I could turn the Basek into a whole monophonic drum synthesizer. And this gets really in depth too, just like the Varigate 8. Every single channel could be ran in its own clock division. Every single channel could be unquantized or quantized with 16 different scales to choose from. Every channel could have a smooth CV per step. So right now, since I have this set up like a preset with the Basek, you could do it a bunch of different ways. You could have all 8 outputs going to, say, 8 different oscillators to do the pitch, so you could have 8 melodic things going on. Or you could have, let's say, for example, channel 1 going to pulse width modulation of an oscillator. Channel 2 could be voltage controlled panning. Channel 3 could be, let's say, decay on a snare drum for another module. So these are just some of the ways that you could use the voltage block, because with anything modular, it's endless amounts of fun with sending CV to any parameter that you want. And with the voltage block, you could save 16 patterns by itself. If you have it connected to the Varigate 8, you could save 100. So they pair really well together. And that's what we got going down at Malekko Heavy Industry for NAMM 2017. Thanks for checking.